What I really recommend for a lot of beginning students, obviously, is to first learn all your open chords and memorize them. You know, like your C chord or G or D, and work on a basic strumming pattern, like a 4/4 strumming pattern, which is a down, down, up, up, down strum. For instance, if I went from a C chord, doing that pattern in 4 beats, and then switched to a G chord and did the same pattern, it would sound like this. Continue doing that over and over again until I can seamlessly switch between the chords cleanly, and then I would add a different chord, maybe a D chord, and I'll continue to add chords to the rhythm. Typically you start off with 2 to 3 chords, and then alternate your chord changes. Maybe throw an F in there, but then do F, G, and C. Doing the same pattern, and you try to tap your foot. It's always a good idea to get a good fundamental rhythm going when you're playing these kind of chords and doing that kind of rhythm. It'll definitely help in the long run when you're playing with a group, especially with a drummer that you need to keep in time with. Alright, this is one of the key exercises, guitar exercises. Actually, it's also finger exercises that I recommend to most of my students who really want to get into like a lead style playing, or even just get better at finger movement across the fretboard of the guitar. And it's basically a chromatic exercise. It's pretty simple to understand. It's just a grouping of 4 or 3 notes at a time, or 1 at a time, and you basically play them with each individual finger, index, middle, ring, pinky, and you play with a down-up picking stroke. Starting, for example, on the high E string, which is this string right here, you'll start with your first finger with a down stroke, then go to the 2nd fret, which is this note here, and you use your middle finger, and you'll play with an up stroke. Then so on with the 3rd finger, down pick, 4th finger, and up pick. And then what you do is you switch strings to the 2nd string, the B string, and do the same thing. And so on. And the key here is you want to be able to continuously go without any pauses or spaces between the string changes or the picking movement. So the main thing that's important here is to start very slow until you get the hang of it and get the coordination down, to eventually speed it up into more of a muscle kind of exercise for your fingers. So anyway, you would just continue to move up and down the fretboard as you go up and down, and you can really arrange it in any way you want. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm playing it, but try to keep it all together is kind of the key. And then what you can also do is flip it around a little bit with, instead of doing 4 notes, do 3 notes, which what happens there when you do the 3 notes is that you're going to be doing a down up pick, an up pick, and a down pick, and then when you switch strings, like I did with doing the 4 notes, you have to start the next string with an up pick. So it makes it a little bit more challenging, but it's key, you know, especially if you want to get into lead playing and you're playing a lot of scale or riffs that are going to utilize different string changes in the middle of a lick. So for instance, it would be this. One of the things I recommend to a lot of my students, definitely my beginner students, is to learn, start with your open scales, to memorize them, understand the concept of the scale, you know, with a particular key, which means, you know, what notes are going to be sharp or flat. Typically, you always start with a C scale because there's no sharps or flats in the key of C. So a particular pattern for an open C scale, meaning that you're utilizing some open strings when you're playing notes in the first position here would be playing this scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then reverse it. And then you would practice that over and over again. So there would be an open scale pattern that you can practice. Again, it would help with your finger movement and coordination. Then you can take that scale pattern and move it to an actual movable scale pattern, which has no open strings, and you're playing with all your fingers. But you're actually creating a shape with the scale pattern, and when you do that, you can easily move that shape anywhere up and down the fretboard and make it a totally different scale. For instance, here would be the same C scale. It's actually going to cover 2 octaves, but it's going to form a pattern, and you'll see what I'm doing here. So that's a C scale, 2 octaves, and we're going from the low octave to a middle octave to the highest octave and then backwards. But it has a shape, a pattern. So if I want to take that exact same shape and let's say move it up to 2 frets, this note here is a D, I can play the exact same shape or same pattern, same finger pattern, and now it becomes a D scale. And I can move it down to an A. And basically, right there you could play or solo in any key you want with just that one particular pattern. I usually recommend that you hammer down and memorize at least 3 to 4 different shapes of the same kind of scale that you can easily move it up and down the fretboard. And it'll keep you from sticking to one area if you're having to solo. You basically can move up and down the neck and visualize your scale patterns with a particular key that you're playing in.